Some stories do not begin with screams or shadows or blood on the walls. They begin quietly in normal houses where nothing bad is supposed to happen, where people live their daily lives thinking the past is something that stays buried. But sometimes the past waits patiently in dark corners, watching, listening, and when it finally decides to show itself, it does so slowly, gently, almost kindly at first, and before anyone understands what is happening. Something hidden starts revealing itself piece by piece, until it becomes impossible to escape. Before we start, please subscribe if you haven't already. The family had moved into the old house at the edge of town at the start of summer, the kind of place with creaking stairs, thick wooden doors, and an attic no one had touched in years. And at first everything felt peaceful. The mornings were filled with sunlight through dusty windows, the evenings with the sound of insects outside, and the parents were happy to finally own a home with space for their 2 children to run around. And for a while nothing strange happened, just normal life settling in, boxes being unpacked, furniture being arranged, and laughter echoing down the hallway as the children played hide and seek. It was on a lazy afternoon when the power went out during a storm that the father decided to check the attic for old lanterns or candles, climbing the narrow wooden ladder while dust floated in the air around him. And the attic smelled like dry wood and forgotten years, filled with broken furniture, suitcases, and old cardboard boxes. And while searching through one of the corners, he noticed a small leather bag tucked behind a stack of newspapers, heavy for its size, and when he opened it, he found an old camera inside, the kind that used film instead of memory cards, scratched and worn but still solid, as if someone had taken great care of it long ago. When he brought it downstairs, the children were immediately excited, touching the buttons and peeking through the viewfinder while the mother smiled, saying it probably belonged to someone who lived there years ago. And the father joked that maybe it still worked, and without thinking much they decided to try it out, finding a small box of film rolls inside the same bag, yellowed but unopened. And it felt strange that film would still be there after so many years, but curiosity won, and they loaded one roll into the camera. That evening they took simple pictures, the children sitting on the couch, the mother standing near the window, the father holding the camera up to a mirror for a silly reflection shot. Just normal family moments, laughing and making faces. And once the storm passed, the father drove to a nearby shop that still developed film, the kind of old place run by an elderly man who barely spoke, and he said the photos would be ready by the next afternoon. The next day felt normal again, school, chores, cooking dinner. And when the father returned with the envelope of printed photos, everyone gathered around the dining table to look at them, smiling as they flipped through the first few pictures, seeing themselves frozen in moments from the night before. But then the mother paused on one photo, her smile slowly fading as she stared at it longer than the others. Behind her, just a few steps back near the hallway, stood a tall, dark shape, shaped like a person but slightly blurred, as if it had moved while the picture was taken. And at first they thought it was a shadow or maybe one of the children walking past. But the shape was too clear to be nothing and too tall to be either child. The father took the photo from her hand and looked closer, feeling a strange chill move up his arms. And when they checked the next picture, the one of the children on the couch, the same shape was there again, this time standing directly behind them, closer than before, its face still unclear but its outline sharper. And then the mirror photo showed it too, right behind the father's shoulder, almost touching him. Silence filled the room as the family slowly realized the figure appeared in every single picture. At first they tried to explain it away, saying maybe it was a lighting issue, or something wrong with the film, or even a trick of the camera lens. But deep down none of those explanations felt right, because the shape stood differently in each photo, moving closer every time, like someone walking forward step by step. That night the mother barely slept, waking up again and again from dreams where someone stood in the doorway watching her breathe. And each time she opened her eyes, the hallway was empty. But the feeling of being watched never left, and the children started complaining about hearing footsteps above their rooms even though the attic was locked, and no one was up there. The father decided the next day to test the camera again, wanting to prove it was just a broken old thing, and he took a picture of the empty kitchen, no one in it, just chairs and the table. And when he picked up the developed photo later that evening, his hands began shaking. The figure was there, standing in the middle of the kitchen, facing the camera, closer than ever before. Now its shape was clearer, tall and thin, with long arms hanging stiff at its sides, and its head tilted slightly like it was curious. And though the face was still blurry, there was no doubt it was something that looked like a person. From that moment on, the house felt different, quieter but heavier, like the air itself was pressing down on them. And strange things began happening more often. Doors left open that had been closed, cold spots in warm rooms, soft breathing sounds when no one was nearby. And the children started drawing pictures of a tall, dark man standing behind their beds at night, saying he watched them sleep but never moved. The mother finally decided to look up the history of the house, visiting the local library and asking around town. And what she found made her stomach twist with fear. Decades earlier, a man named Harold had lived there alone after his family died in a fire in the very same house. And people said he became quiet and strange afterward, always carrying a camera, taking photos of neighbors, children playing, couples walking. And when police searched his home years later after he disappeared, they found hundreds of photos hidden in the attic, all of them showing people from around town, with a dark figure slowly appearing behind them in each new picture. And the last set of photos were all of Harold himself, sitting alone in different rooms of the house, the dark figure standing closer each time, until the final photo showed Harold screaming in terror with the figure's hands wrapped around his throat. Harold's body was never found. The mother realized with horror that the camera they found was the same one Harold used. That night, as the family sat together in the living room, afraid to go to sleep, the father heard a soft click sound coming from the hallway, the exact sound the camera made when taking a picture. And slowly they turned to see the camera sitting on the table, even though no one had touched it, and the film wheel was turning by itself. Click, click, click. Again and again. The next morning, without understanding why, the father drove to get the new film developed, his heart pounding the entire way, and when he opened the envelope, his face went pale. The first photo showed the family sitting together in the living room from the night before. The dark figure stood behind the couch, closer than ever, its face now clear. It was Harold, but his eyes were black and empty like deep holes, and his mouth was stretched wide in a broken smile. The second photo showed the mother alone in the kitchen. Harold stood right behind her shoulder. The third photo showed the children in their bedroom. Harold stood between their beds. The final photo showed the father standing in the hallway looking toward the camera, and Harold was directly behind him, with his hands already reaching forward. The family packed immediately, throwing clothes into bags, not even locking the door as they ran out of the house and drove away, never looking back, staying with relatives in another town, trying to forget everything that happened. And for a while life slowly returned to normal. The nightmares faded, the strange sounds stopped, and they believed leaving the house had saved them. Until one afternoon weeks later, when the children were playing outside and found an old photo lying on the sidewalk near their new home. It was a fresh photo of the family standing in their new living room, taken from inside the house. And behind them, standing even closer than before, was Harold, smiling wider than ever. And that was when they finally understood the truth. The camera was never showing someone following them. It was showing someone slowly claiming them. And no matter where they ran, once the camera saw them, Once the figure appeared behind them, it was only a matter of time before it stepped out of the photos completely. Because Harold was never trapped in the house. He was trapped in the camera. And now the camera had chosen its next family.